Welcome to the Agile Career Podcast, where we will take you on the journey from employed for life to employable for life. We'll give you the tips, insights, and strategies to help you build the transferable skills that you'll need. So let's get started. Please welcome your host, Gunther Richter.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Agile Career Podcast. As you'll know, I've got many great guests on this show, and today is no different. Our guests always talk about their careers and their career transitions, but on some of the shows, or some of the episodes anyway, we also talk to specialists who share some very specific career advice. So, for example, in an earlier episode, we talked to Eldon Davis, who's a recruitment specialist who really shared some insight and advice from almost sitting on the other side of the desk, interviewing candidates and talking about people's careers. I'm very glad to say that today's guest checks all those boxes too. We've got a great career story to hear about and also some great insight into career progression and, very importantly, getting paid what you're worth. My guest today is Sonja Price, who is the Chief Career Strategist and founder of Dynamo Careers. So I'm not going to steal any thunder from Sonja. Welcome, Sonja, to the show. Thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
Super. I've been looking forward to this. It seems to have taken so long. I know before the show, you were saying, what have you been so busy on? And it's just crazy how the weeks go. We're almost into March. So I'm glad we've made it happen.
Yeah, me too.
Brilliant. So do you want to start off and just introduce yourself and talk a little bit more around what it is you do at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the Chief Career Strategist at Dynamo Careers. It's myself and a small team of people, and we serve clients who are looking to upgrade and transform their career. So folks who are looking to make a significant amount more of money, or they're looking to switch job roles or switch industries, or, something that might require a little bit more guidance and finesse to actually make a huge shift in your career. We help people focus on all of the core elements of what do you need to do from start to finish to really make that big upgrade or transformation in your career. So we look at a variety of different things, really honing in on career strategy and helping people nail down a career roadmap of what are their short and long-term career goals and where do they want to go? And what's the earning potential in a variety of different directions? And why might they want to choose one topic over another or one role over another? We also look at a wide range of different decision-making criteria and really help people, get more specific on who are they and what do they want in their career moving forward, and how can they really have a job that works for them and an overall comprehensive career strategy that works for them. And then we put all of the other pieces in place as well. So we'll help them refine their career profile, create a keyword optimized resume and LinkedIn profile, really having all of those enhancements on LinkedIn that can really help candidates be pursued by employers. And then, all of the rest of the details, job search, networking, interviewing, and my favorite, salary negotiation of helping people, really get the best offer possible for them.
There's so many great things you touched on there, and I'm really eager to start diving into some of the details because I think you mentioned so many things or so many more things than people sometimes consider. Worst case scenario, you'll speak to someone and ask them, why are you in this job? And they'll say, well, because it's a job and I need the money, and that is the polar opposite to some of the things you're saying in terms of looking at a job that works for you. What's your overall career strategy? How can you maximize, I suppose, your income and those sorts of things. So many brilliant things to unpack there. But I guess before I delve into the detail, I'd like to sort of wind the clock back a little bit because I'm guessing you haven't always done this as a career. You've got a bit of a backstory, and I'm really eager to find out about that backstory and what brought you to this I think noble pursuit that you do today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love what I do today. I haven't always had my own career calling though. And I really do consider what I do today a calling for me because I love serving clients. But what led me to do what I'm doing today is really my own career journey. So if we step back quite a while ago, when I was in college, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my career, zero. And so it actually took me 6 colleges and 7 years to complete my degree because I I wanted to live my life, and I was traveling and having fun and, doing all of these great things while I was pursuing my college education. So a little bit unconventional, but I don't regret that, but I do regret the student loans that came along with it. So what happened is, I got about 3/4 of the way through my college education, and I just decided, I don't even know what I'm doing in college. I think I'm just going to take some time off, get a job, which I thought was going to be kind of like an internship just to help gain some professional experience. And it ended up being one of the best opportunities that I probably ever could have to help put my career on the map. So I got a job working for a startup company, and I was basically hired as an admin assistant to the founder. But because the company grew so quickly, it was pretty well funded, which actually worked very well to our advantage. But the company grew very quickly. And so each time that we were going to hire a new role, I would simply just say to the founder or, whoever was in the leadership position to say, hey, why don't I take on that new role and let's hire somebody to backfill my position. So I worked there for about 5 years, and I finished my degree on the side. And that actually just gave me a ton of professional experience. So for any listeners who are, young in your career, if you can get a job like this that will actually help you build your experience, sometimes working for a smaller company can actually be a great way to help get your career on the map. But anyways, for me, I basically, by the time that I completed my time there, I was a product manager. And I had been, doing requirements gathering and helping define features for this very innovative technology. And I used that to kind of, move in a new and different direction. So I ended up getting, my next job was also as a product manager for a Fortune 500 company. And I made significantly more money when I was able to move to a bigger company. But because I already had all that work experience under my belt, that really made a huge difference for me. From there, I got more into user research and usability testing. And I ended up running a usability lab for a number of years, which was really fun. We would put those eye tracking devices on people, and we could see how don't know why I have a frog in my throat right now, but hey, it always happens when you're recording.
Only because we're recording, absolutely. And as I said earlier, you'll probably hear the dog barking too.
The wonders of remote working, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. So anyways, I ran a usability lab for a number of years. That was really fun. We looked at how users were purchasing products online, and I would make very small optimizations to websites that would usually end up helping the company earn millions more dollars per year. And then I got really interested in how teams work and the effectiveness of leadership inside of an organizational culture. And so that prompted me to go back to school. I got a master's in leadership and organization development, and I got really interested in change management and how do big companies roll out large-scale change initiatives. And so this led me to start to move more into consulting. I also had a couple other jobs in there along the way. I tried my hand at business development and marketing. And so I have single-handedly reinvented my own career a handful of times. And I think really what led me to becoming a career coach is my own career journey, because I realized that each and every single one of those times that I decided I wanted to try something new and different, I really needed to learn how to leverage my own past work experience and know how do I position myself for the type of job that I really want to have. And I learned a lot about this through consulting as well. And I mentioned I did change management consulting for a period of time. When you work with a variety of different clients and you see how each company has their own unique culture, their own unique work environment, you could have the exact same solution that you walk in with, but you have to learn how to apply it differently to each and every company that you come into. So because I, transitioned jobs so many different times, I had, friends and family who were coming to me and saying well, wait a second, how did you go from usability testing to business development? How did you go from business development into consulting? How did you do this? How did you do this? So I just for fun on the side, I started, helping people with their resumes and preparing for interviews. And then the longer that I did that, the more that I realized that there's actually a lot more to this than simply just updating your resume. So if you're looking to make a very big transition in your career, first and foremost, you have to be really clear on like, what is it that you even want to do? And then, get clear on your overall career roadmap. Like, who are you and what do you want to do? And then what are the proper presentation materials or marketing materials to help you move in that direction? So because I was so successful in changing directions on my own and also making a significant amount more of money each and every single time that I made one of those career moves, people were asking me for help. So I kind of started doing it on the side. And then after a number of years of doing that, I was getting referrals and more referrals. And then I thought, oh, wait a second. I think people really need help with this. Like, maybe I should start a business helping people. And that's where it all began. And I've now been doing this full time as a career coach for over 6 years now. And, but I would say I started it probably about, 12 to 14 years ago. And in that time, I've literally helped thousands of professionals really know how to hone in on what do they want in their career? How do they market and position themselves in the right way? And then how do you know that you're going after the right opportunities that will also help maximize your earning potential, both now and over the long-term future of your career as well?
Well, that's an awesome story. And, it seems like all the steps that you took, every single step was a step up. I'm sure it's probably not been as easy as you described, because we always have challenges through our career. But I think, I wanted to draw out some of the key things you spoke about there. And these are all the themes that kind of emerge through all of the interviews that I do on the podcast. And the one is that opportunity that you spoke about, that I think you created for yourself in that first role, saying, well, I started as an admin assistant, but we were hiring a new person. I would take that role and then backfill myself, and that was, I think, a great opportunity. And you obviously kept it rolling and kept on creating those opportunities. And it was a fantastic learning opportunity in terms of the subject matter that you take on, probably a ton of transferable skills. Someone else I spoke to on the podcast had this career of a career bubble or a skills bubble. And she wrote down all of the things she wanted to learn. Her ultimate role was to become a CEO, or ultimate dream, I suppose. Noted down those sorts of skills and then thought, as the next step, what job do I need to do to start picking up some of these skills? And again, slightly different from what you did, but not dissimilar. So really, really good advice there. And I think, volunteering and putting up your hand saying, I'd like to do this thing is such a great opportunity that sometimes people don't see. I think they just see it as being, there's another ask on me and, I can't be bothered, or there's no value in doing this additional role or adding to my existing role. So that was really, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just love to comment on that. I mean, I love the concept that you said that your previous guest, created her own word bubble of like all of these various different things, the skills that she needed to learn and achieve over the course of her career. I think that's an excellent exercise. I would also recommend, yes, do that, and also pay attention to where you're at right now and what are the needs that you see in your immediate environment. So if you're in a job right now and you want to get promoted, or you want to, pursue opportunities to help build out that skill set, it's like what you need to be doing is see the need, fill the need, so it's like, how do you see those opportunities around you? And then how can you actually create those opportunities for yourself where you can move into a new project or move into a new position that maybe you can help create, you can help craft. I've actually done that a number of times. So you do have to be a little bit bold. You have to, really be assertive and put yourself out there. But I have actually created my own job description a number of different times working inside of organizations. It does require you to be a little bit bold, and you have to know how to sell an idea. But if you see a need and you know how to fill that need, or you're able to showcase how you're competent enough to fill that need, and or you go and learn those skills very quickly on the side, but go ahead and step into that role and always be pursuing stretch roles so that you can continuously progress your career. and carry yourself forward to that next level.
I like that term, a stretch role rather than a stretch goal. That's a great piece of advice. I think, that resonates with the fact that so many jobs aren't actually advertised, for example, and it's either through, as you say, that internal shaping of a role and, spotting an opportunity, or, through networking and picking out those opportunities. I think that's a great piece of advice, rather than just saying, this is my current job title. I'm going to go onto job websites and search for that exact same title, because you're probably just going to end up doing the same thing at a different company.
Exactly.
Which is not necessarily going to grow yourself, either in terms of skills or salary and those sorts of things.
Yeah. If you never pursue a stretch role, you will always be making lateral moves. Always. So what is that stretch role for you, and how far do you want to stretch? And then how do you get really good at knowing how to market yourself so that you can be seen as somebody who's competent and already has the skills to perform at that next level?
It's interesting having this chat, and an idea's just sprung in, and I'm trying to think of the exact name. I think it's called the Peter Principle. It was a guy called Peter someone, or someone Peter, where he talked about, people getting promoted to their level of incompetence. So they would keep getting promoted until they hit that level, at which point they would get promoted no more because they just couldn't grow. I mean, what's your take on that? For someone who starts off, for example, as, let's say, working at the desk in a bank, to say, I want to be CEO of the bank.
Sure. I mean, I think, for each individual, we have to know, what do we feel comfortable stepping into? In my mind, there are very few roles out there that are true rocket science, right? I mean, there are some, right? There are, some engineering roles and things like that you probably couldn't step into if you didn't really have the former background to know how to do it. But, if you're progressing in a steady line in your career and you know where you're headed, what you want to be looking at doing is, okay, what's the skill set that I want to learn and grow and master? And what do I already have some skills and experience in? Or what can I go out and learn very quickly online and be able to, sell myself enough so that I can land that type of role? And then, in most jobs that I've had, you're going to be in a learning curve for the first 30, 60, 90 days anyways, sometimes maybe even a little bit longer. You're going to be in a learning curve. You're going to be learning the company culture, the work environment, the acronyms. Sometimes there's just so many acronyms that get thrown around when you very first start working with an organization. It can take a few months just to master the vocabulary alone. So if you can, if you can move into a stretch role, but move into a stretch role that's comfortable for you. You never want to move into something that you're going to be drowning or in over your head. In that Peter Principle, yes, I think we've all heard of that, or I certainly have. And, maybe you do get promoted to the level of incompetence, but I think as long as you keep learning and growing, that probably will not happen. And you just remember that it's oftentimes about building relationships too. So when you do step into a new role, yeah, there's the skill set and knowing how to do what you do, but there's also the social capital of who around you has been there and can help can help guide and direct you. You don't want to show up and look like, oh my gosh, why did we hire this person? They obviously don't know what they're doing. But if you can find people who can kind of help show you the ropes a little bit, in my experience, you can usually figure it out in the first few months of being in a new role. And it is uncomfortable, but we usually don't grow unless we place ourselves in a little bit of discomfort. So what's that small amount of discomfort that can help you continuously move into those stretch roles without going too far in a way that, may be detrimental to you. However, even if you do move into a role like that, you realize it's just not the right fit. There's other fish in the sea. You can always go find another job and start over somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, there's two great pieces that I've taken from that, and the one is, I think, the value of mentorship, and the other one is, asking the question, what's the worst that can happen? I think, as you say, certain professions, you're not going to say, well, I'm going to go and be a brain surgeon tomorrow because, if you're not qualified, things could go really wrong. And, people have been caught out doing stuff like that. But I think, as you describe it, actually, this role's not for me. I can find something else. It's not the end of the world. So I think two good takeaways there. Just to step back one bit to the bit we were talking about before, the other takeaway that I sort of wanted to touch on was, you said formally you've been doing Dynamo Careers for 6 years now, but actually going back 8 or 12 years, you've been doing this thing. And it's almost that concept of a soft start or side hustle, to prove out that idea first before you went headlong into the idea. I'm guessing the way you've described it came organically. It wasn't something that you really thought about, but in retrospect, it's an approach that really worked well.
Yes, as so many things in life, right? A number of things kind of unfold organically over time, and you may not actually know it's happening when it's happening. So at first it was just for fun on the side. And, I had people approaching me, and I've always had entrepreneurial pursuits. So this is actually my 6th business, number 6. I've started 6 different businesses, and this one is the first profitable one, the first successful one. So if there are, entrepreneurial folks out there listening, if you've started a business and it didn't quite work in the way that you thought that it would, it's okay. I think there's a number of reasons why businesses do or don't work. But I think as long as you stay connected to your passion, you stay connected to what it is that you enjoy doing, I think it will unfold and it will come forward, and you will find the right steps. And if you love something enough, you will figure out how to make it work. So, when I very first started this business, it actually wasn't a business. It was a side hustle. It was just something for fun. It was a hobby in the very beginning. And then I thought, oh gosh, I think I have something here. Maybe I should start charging for it. So I started charging a minimal fee, which actually allowed me to continue to grow my skill set and become more of a skilled master in what it is that I'm doing. And then I got really good at coaching and working with individuals. But then I realized, well, to have a business, I actually need to learn a lot more about marketing and sales and how do you actually run a business? How do you do your own bookkeeping? How do you do accounting? And, just as a side note, as a small business owner, these are the things that I never thought about. I thought, I'm going to start a coaching business. I get to talk to people all day. I get to do what I love. And I do get to talk to really amazing professionals and help people accomplish really amazing things in their career. But I also really did not think about what would it actually take to run a business. And I've had to continue to learn and grow my skill set in areas that maybe I didn't even think that I needed to. So like the marketing aspect of things, that's always a continuous evolution as a business owner. And, now I've gotten to the point that I can hire some of that out, but I also have to, still be a strategist and still be thinking about it and leading and growing people to help run the business as well. So I know I shared a number of different things there, but for those folks out there who are thinking about starting a business, just try some things for fun on the side and see if it sticks, and pay attention to what do you really enjoy doing about that. And then would you want to make a business out of it? And if so, what are all the various different things going back to that skill set, right? Is like, what is the skill set that you would need to be successful in this new endeavor, whether it be, moving into corporate leadership, or you want to become a CEO, like what's all the skill set that you would need there? Or if you start your own business, what's the skill set that you would need there? And then how can you start to acquire those skills and test out those skills and pay attention to see if it's something that you really love and enjoy doing as well, because that's a huge component of overall career satisfaction.
Yeah, so like you said earlier, is starting off with doing that, I guess, as is analysis, or knowing where you are, creating, I suppose, a sort of skills inventory or that sort of thing, and understanding, how those skills might serve you elsewhere in a role that has a demand for those sorts of skills, be it corporate, be it an entrepreneurial type of role, or even, as we spoke about in the last episode of the podcast, non-profit type of role. So I think some good advice there. And as you say, even in your own business, you're still learning things and you've been challenged to pick up some of the things you never thought you'd need to do, like doing your own books and marketing. So I think some sage words of advice there. All right. So we've gone through, your backstory quite nicely. And so far we've drawn out so much insight. It's been really, really interesting. But I guess the way that you've described your career, and certainly if I look back on mine, it's probably been unplanned. It seems looking back that this was meant to be, or this was a plan. And I suppose that's in contrast to some of the things you've been talking about in terms of how you can really help people to say, well, what is your career strategy? What are you wanting to do longer term? So perhaps if we talk a little bit more about that, and I suppose maybe have people understand the significance of why they should be thinking a little more strategically.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Gunter, I know that you've had a very successful career. So, following your own path and your own journey and just paying attention to the opportunities that are in front of you. I think that's probably how most people approach their careers. It's like, what's in front of me right now? And is that a good fit for me? And if you approach it like that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as you're getting enough of the right types of opportunities presented to you. I think as a career strategist, what I like to do is, okay, it's good to be successful with where you're at right now, but let's step out away from that. Let's get that objective viewpoint and let's look to see, is this actually working for you? Or what do you actually want to be doing? Because I just find so often that people just kind of pursue whatever's there. But if you really step back and look at things, are you having the right opportunities presented to you? And how can you have even better opportunities presented to you? I find that when people approach it from this more strategic viewpoint, that they usually end up getting more of what they want in their career, whether that be, better title, better company, more work-life balance, doing work that's more in alignment with their values and who they are and the impact that they want to make in their world. Like we all work 40 plus hours per week. Most working professionals are working at least 40 hours a week, if sometimes not more. But do you really want to? And what are you doing with your valuable time and your valuable skills in this world? And what's the impact that is contributing to on this planet? And is it in alignment with who you are as an individual, the values that you stand for, and the difference that you want to make in your life? So to do that, you usually have to be much more strategic. You need to step out and step back and look at a higher view. I actually have a quiz that I'd love to offer to anybody on the call today. It's a quiz. It's called, Does Your Work Work for You? So to identify some of these things, you can go to my website, dynamocareers.com/quiz. And it's Dynamo, DYNAMO, careers.com/quiz. It'll take you 5 minutes to complete it. And what that'll do is it'll walk you through a whole series of questions to help you identify, is your work really working for you right now? And what are some of the various different aspects that you want to be looking at and evaluating? Things like company culture, your personal values, work-life balance, how much you're making, is your skill set being utilized to the fullest? And so if you take this quiz, it'll give you a really helpful assessment just to kind of see where you're at in your life right now, where you're at in your career, give you some ideas and some things to think about of where you might want to go next. And then in the end, you get your own customized result with suggested action steps of things that you might want to start to think about to implement that next phase of your career.
That's definitely on my list of things to do. And what I'll do as well, I'll post the link in the show notes and listeners can just sort of click through to that quiz. I'm looking forward to that. That sounds really interesting. And I think it's drawn out I suppose, in terms of answering the question, why people should be thinking more strategically. I like the way you described, are you using your valuable skills to do valuable things to make a change in the world? And I think, that talks to that longer term strategy more than I want to be earning X amount in 10 years time, because I think that's more tactical, I suppose, and operational, in the same way that you'd say, I'm going to take this next job because it pays 20% more. So you're not really thinking about those bigger things. You're just thinking about, I guess, your paycheck and, you probably get to a point as well where, earning more doesn't really make a difference. It's those other things. It's making a difference makes a difference. So I'm really glad you touched on that.
I do think you do want to be looking at it very comprehensively, though, and you're right. I think a lot of people make decisions based on compensation, which is a good thing to consider, right? Because the amount of money that you're bringing in can also help you afford the kind of lifestyle that you want to have. And if you are making a significant amount of money and you care about giving back and making an impact in the world, like giving a financial contribution is one way that you can do that. Or maybe you just want to go on more vacations with your family, or, have more spa time so you can relax and take care of yourself. So I think compensation is a big component of that, but you're right. I think we need to be looking at a wide variety of different variables, and how does that fit into your own unique equation of what's the right fit for you and what do you want in your career and in your life moving forward.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, the way you describe that as well is there's nothing wrong with earning more, because, if you can spread wealth, instead of tipping 10%, I'm going to tip 20% now, or, I can afford to take on a personal assistant, or, whatever it is,
hire a house cleaner. Yeah,
exactly. Get someone to come and clean the windows. So I think that's great. And it doesn't show, it's not being selfish, wanting a better income. And on that point, I suppose, and we were talking about it's not all about the money, but I'm sure that there may be some listeners saying, "I want you guys to talk about the money." One of the other tools you spoke about when we talked earlier, in addition to the quiz, was the salary negotiator calculator.
Yeah.
So perhaps if we talk a little bit more about remuneration or pay, and thinking about what are those strategies that people can use to get a better salary, other than just looking for a job that offers 25% more.
Show me the money, right? Show me the money. This is a huge component of what I focus on with clients, is really helping them understand how to maximize their earning potential. So when you are considering the future of your career, what are all the different things that you want to take into consideration? And income is usually a fairly high on the ranking list. What we want to do is figure out what's the wide variety of different opportunities that you could move towards. Start to do the research to back up, okay, what's the feasible salary range for each of those different opportunities? And then, what makes the most sense for you in terms of job title, industry, company. There's a variety of different things that kind of factor into that salary range specifically for you, including your background, education, and skill set. But there's a number of tools online that you can go to do some of this research. And there's tools like Glassdoor, PayScale, salary.com. There's some really great tools out there. What you want to do is make sure that you're targeting the right types of job titles, and also looking at the industry or company, because each organization is going to pay differently per job title, just simply based on how well funded they are or what industry they're in, and what they can pay. And then, there's a number of other things to take into account here, but really what you want to be doing is thinking about, well, how much are you making now? How much more would you like to make in the future? And then make sure that you're aligning yourself with the right types of opportunities, so that when you do go to apply for those jobs, you have a very targeted search, and that everything is very targeted in alignment with that. Your resume, your LinkedIn profile, how you talk about yourself in interviews and in networking conversations. And then, ultimately, when it comes down to that salary negotiation, when you're negotiating your overall compensation, total compensation, you need to think about all the various different factors that are pulled into that. So there's way more details, in all of those different steps that you really want to take into consideration and know how to master that whole process. But one thing that I like to show people is I have this Dynamo salary calculator, and you can access it by going to dynamocareers.com/calculator. Again, it's Dynamo, Dynamo. And what this calculator will show you is if you input how much money that you're making right now, and then how much more that you would like to make in the future. It's actually going to show you the accumulative effect of how that will play out over the course of the remainder of your career. So if you land a job making $20,000 or $30,000 more than where you're at right now, let's say that right now you're making $100,000 a year, and in the future you land a job making $120,000 more per year, and you have 20 more years to work in your lifetime, and you never get another new role. That $20,000 is going to actually be way more 20 years from now because of the cumulative impact of getting a cost of living increase or getting your annual raise every year. That compounds on top of that $20,000. So you can go into this calculator and see how this actually plays out for you. I've actually helped people make up to $100,000 more per year than they were previously making. And this can actually equate to well over, it's over $2.5 million more over the remainder of their career by making $100,000 more today than you could, that could actually mean that could equate to over $2.5 billion more over the remainder of your career. And that's just in making one job move, making X number of dollars more now. So the reason I put this calculator together is that I really want people to see that if you did make more money now, and even if it's just $5,000 more per year right now, it's not just $5,000 more per year right now. It's actually, how does that compound over the number of years that you have left working? And my goal for every professional on this planet is I really want you to know how to maximize your earning potential so that you can do more with your life, so that you can, take your family on more vacations. You can give to charity. You can buy more shoes. You could, do whatever feels right for you in your life. But ultimately, we want to make sure that you're being paid what you're worth. We want to make sure that you are, in the upper end of the market range for what your position pays in the market. And, just make sure that you are really maximizing your earning potential, because life is short. Your career's really going to be short by the time that it's all said and done. And when you reach retirement age, did you really give it a fair shot? Did you give it your best go? Did you make the most amount of money that you could make so that you're sitting pretty when you're in retirement, and that you've also lived a very full life, filled with all the types of experiences that you want to have? And sometimes those experiences require money. So, maximize your earning potential so that you can really have the best life that you want.
I think that's a brilliant summary. And, I think the call to action there is perhaps doing a bit of, I suppose, reflection. And again, it talks to that strategic nature of thinking about, as you say, it's not $5,000 this year. It's what's the longer term impact of that? So using that introspection to say, well, actually, what's that compounding effect? What are the benefits on top of that, in terms of perhaps your employer's pension contribution? I think you guys in the States call it a 401k. So yeah, it's not just that 5,000, there's a percentage on top of that potentially. It's money you can invest, for example. You don't have to spend it. What's the compound effect of that? So I think some really good introspection, for people to think more strategically, and some great tips there. I guess I just want to be respectful of your time. I see we've been running for quite a while now. And so perhaps just a few short questions to round off what's been an awesome interview with loads of takeaways. I've got a ton of notes that are going to make a great set of show notes. What would you say is, I guess, the first step, the one step that someone could almost do tomorrow to moving towards that next pay increase?
I think probably the first step is really there's a couple of first steps, but one is just evaluating, where do you actually want to go? I think having that clarity is one of the most important components of it, because then when you go to do the salary research, you'll know, what is the feasible pay range for this thing. So they kind of go hand in hand, because if you're, not entirely clear on where you want to go, then it's hard to know what to research. But maybe doing the research will help give you clarity on where you want to go. And it really depends upon, where you're at. So if, let's say, you're a project manager right now and you want to become a senior project manager, well, that's a fairly easy step. So you could go and research, what does a project manager make in this industry, in these types of companies? And also, what does a senior project manager make? And, figure out, okay, well, what is the skill set that I need to have in place to be considered as a senior project manager? That's a fairly straightforward move, but if you're trying to make a transition, you want to go from project manager to product manager. Well, there's a little bit more involved in that because you need to have additional skill set and you need to showcase that, you've actually launched a product or that you know all of the various different steps involved with the product management and product lifecycle. And, but I think I've helped people make those kinds of moves before. Then it becomes more about the creative positioning of how do you put the right pieces in place to start moving in that direction. But in answer to your question, what's the first step, I think is really just starting to do that initial evaluation, starting to figure out what do you actually want, and then mapping out a game plan of how are you going to get there, and just breaking it down, treating it as a project and, taking it step by step by step. And if you don't know what you're doing, seek help. Find a mentor, find a coach, find somebody who can help lead you through this process so that you can actually accomplish it. Because sometimes this can be a daunting endeavor. And if you can, find people who can help support you, mentors and sponsors, coaches, people who've done this before that can help you implement those various different steps and get you moving in the right direction so you really can accomplish your goal.
All right, that's brilliant advice. And I guess to just to piggyback on that, if listeners would like to learn a little bit more about what you do or get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, dynamocareers.com. I do have a contact tab on there. So feel free to reach out, send me a message, let me know who you are, what you're looking for. I'm happy to connect with listeners and see if I can help you. I'm happy to help you. Or if you just want to, connect and stay connected in each other's professional network, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And you can just look me up by Sonja Price, SonjaPrice. My company name is Dynamo Careers. So dynamocareers.com or LinkedIn, Sonja Price.
Brilliant. And I'll put those links along with the links to the quiz and the salary calculator, plus some more of the resources you mentioned, all in the listener notes. So people can just go ahead and click those. Sonja, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Yeah, it's a pity we only had an hour. Probably go on talking for ages, but that's been really awesome. And I think the listeners will enjoy this episode too. Thank you for your time.
This has been super fun. Thank you so much, Gunter. I'm sure we could keep talking for much, much longer, but thank you so much. It's been a delight and a pleasure to be on your show, and appreciate you having me.
It's been great chatting. Thank you, Sonja.
Thank you.